All right, here we go. Phantom Menace, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
This turn of events is unfortunate. We must accelerate our plans. Begin landing our troops.
My lord, is that legal?
I will make it legal.
And the Jedi?
The Chancellor should never have brought them into this. Kill them immediately.
Yes, my lord. As you wish.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Cheapseat Reviews, the podcast that explores the Hollywood film industry for the greater good.
We say the greater good.
Nice. Yeah, I expected nothing less. Honestly, what you guys did last week was so great that it's
all downhill from there.
It really is going to be all downhill from here.
Yeah.
This is episode 345. 45, gentlemen and lady. We are only 5 away from 350. This is incredible. We're going to have to find something big and fun to do. I'm looking forward to it. This is episode, what?
345. And that's nearly double Sam's age.
Oh.
Just barely. Tonight we're talking about The Phantom Menace. That's right. We are doing Star Wars, the prequels. Now.
Yes.
Well, we'll explain why in just a little bit. There's a very, very good reason, and she will tell us why in just a minute. I am Shawn Allred, and joining me tonight is Andrew. Let's intro a really cool good guy and bad guy, and then kill them, Jemison.
That's kind of how I would write any story. If I were going to write something, I would say, hey, check this out, and then kill them off in the first chapter, just so that we could never see them again or hear from them again until we get them in ghost form, or they're strangely resurrected later on in an animated series.
Yeah, I was going to say one of those is actually true.
Yep.
Sam also has giant blue balls, Vector.
What? Where did we just go?
I don't know. I don't normally do that joke, but I mean, you're going to have giant blue balls in your movie. I have to say something.
By the way, Shawn, if there's one way to kill you in honor of this movie,
sure,
it would certainly not be by any kind of droid, because they suck.
Yeah.
They really, really suck. So somehow you survive this one because they're worse than the freaking stormtroopers. They just can't. That's just horrible. So you survive.
You would think that robots designed.
344 episodes, John, and you finally survive.
There's actually been a couple other ones that you spared me because you felt so bad that we had to watch the movie. You're like, this movie was punishment enough. You get to live tonight. I think that's happened.
And maybe that's part of it too.
Yeah.
So
all right. And making her Cheap Seat Reviews triumphant return is Melissa. Often does her hair in ridiculous shapes. Apple.
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
you don't do the crescent roll?
I thought it looked like she had a cat on her head at one point where it went kind of like all the way over.
Yeah. I like the T, right, where it goes up and then horizontal and then down like chandelier or like a ceiling fan that you would change the speed of. Yeah.
It's for airflow, current, just to maintain humidity in that region.
And it's just crazy that like no one else we see in her world dresses like that, right? It's just her.
No.
And she only has like 6 inches of hair, yet somehow she's able to, I don't know. It just, you remember?
It's called extensions.
Sam, you
Got
remember?
an idea. Got an idea. Let's go ahead and elect a 12-year-old with gigantic hair, and we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
That sounds fine.
Sounds solid.
Maybe
That
that's how
sounds like
she
a
got
solid plan.
maybe that's how she got elected. You know, like all the other 12, 13-year-old girls had normal hair and she's like, "But look what I can do." And the electorate was like, "That's a good point."
It's like straight out of Hunger Games, right? The wilder and the crazier it is, they love it. So
Yeah.
In the interview, she said, they said, "Tell us why you should be queen." And she said, 2 seconds. She pulls out a curling iron.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah. Remember
Can of Rave or Aquanet. Yeah.
Aquanet.
There
Wow.
we go.
Remember saying when we were
Nice.
watching Stardust and
Yep.
when Robert De Niro is doing Tristan's hair and like he has short
Yeah.
hair in one cut and then the camera cuts away and he goes back and his hair is down past his shoulders and he like even
Yeah.
like he like looks confused at it and then like comes back and it's like regular size again. Like that's what like her hair is. Like it has the magical ability to just be 3 feet longer for whatever reason. Anyway, I did not realize that we were going to spend more than 10 seconds on her hair, but there we go. So, Melissa, welcome back. This is a lot of fun.
It is.
Good to have you back. So
So-
I'm glad that you chose to come back despite the restraining order you took out against us.
That's
So,
true.
Well,
Thank you.
it expired, and I felt like it was time.
It expired. I didn't know those things had expiration dates. That's cool.
They do. I tried to get it for longer, though.
Wow.
Yeah,
Judge-
maybe that's what this is. This is the
This is
the
the
only way she found to get that
This is-
restored.
yeah.
So.
This is the evidence that you'll submit to the judge to say, "See, this is the problem."
Or I'm just torturing you guys by saying to watch this crappy movie.
Well, so this is your fault, 100% your fault. So I said
Yeah.
You're
about
welcome.
about 5 minutes after we recorded the last episode, which we did American President, or as someone
Yeah.
recently referred to it as West Wing the movie. I think that was actually you last night or tonight. I said, "Hey, when you want to come back? That was a lot of fun. It was a good episode." And you said, "I'll do it if you do a Star Wars movie." And I said, "Well, we've already done all of the ones since Disney purchased them." And you said, "Well, then let's do a prequel." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." So here we
So
are.
welcome.
Yeah, so here we are doing the prequels.
Thank you, Melissa. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
Oh
No,
man.
and honestly, as much as we're gonna kind of, I think, poo-poo this movie over the next hour, I actually enjoyed watching it because I watched it with my 8-year-old, and my 8-year-old son. So he is huge into Star Wars. He loves Star Wars. He plays the video game. He plays Battlefront 2 and the Squadron game on my Xbox. And in fact, recently,
He's got a poster of Princess Leia, a slave Leia, above his bed.
no, he definitely does
bedroom.
not have that. But he does have several Star Wars posters. In fact, you know those like wall cleans? He has an entire battle scene in his bedroom. There's a Death Star and a Falcon and a bunch of X-Wings and TIE
cool.
fighters and lasers. Like the whole bedroom is kind of chaos because it's an 8-year-old, but it's full of Star Wars and he's got a lot of Star. So Star Wars is like it for him, and Minecraft, which he actually bought some Star Wars skins. Anyway, not the point. The point is that this weekend I was actually really excited to sit down and watch. We watched A New Hope together. I finally felt he was old enough to sit and watch A New Hope and appreciate it. And he got done watching it, and I'm like, "What'd you think?" You know, because like this movie is a movie that has meant so much to me, and it's like one of those things where you really want him to be like, "It was the greatest movie ever," and he was like, "It was pretty good. It's kind of old, but it was pretty good." And I said, "Okay." I said, "That's fair." And my wife's like, "He's only 8." I'm like, I know. I'm not upset. It's fine.
Don't hurt the child.
Yeah, no,
He's only 8.
it's totally fine. It truly is. I'm just glad that I got the chance to watch it, and maybe,
We still have to feed him
yeah.
and clothe him.
So what I'm going to be real honest. I was actually worried that he would then watch this and go, "Oh, this is so much better, Dad." That's what I was.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was worried
Yeah,
about,
no,
right?
I can see that.
And so we're watching it, and when you're a parent, right, and you're excited or not just a parent, but like when you're watching a movie that you've seen 1,000 times and you're watching it with someone new, you kind of look over at their reactions. So there was a couple of moments where I'm looking over at him and he's not reacting at all, right? Like the parts where I think George Lucas wants children to laugh, he's not laughing at, and I'm thinking, interesting, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but. So we finally got done tonight. We finished it tonight. And I said, what'd you think? He goes, it was okay. And I said, did you like this one or A New Hope better? And he said, I like them both the same. I said, really? And he said, yeah, they're both fine. Okay. So I'm going to be interested.
But I bet, though, if you asked, do you like this better or the Clone Wars series, he would say the Clone Wars series.
He probably would because...
Or Rebels or something.
Yeah, because but there's also way more content and, frankly, better storytelling.
It is much better story,
Yeah. So, anyway.
Well, isn't it kind of like what you start out on is what you gravitate to as well? Like
That's what I've heard, too.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean...
No, there's a lot of
truth
to that.
That's why I exposed my children to the 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do 6 here probably this weekend. So
cool.
We're doing the right order of things.
Yeah.
And if my parents hadn't given me rum as a child, I would not be drinking it now.
Sure.
So before we get too much farther into this thing, if by some chance you're not sure which movie this is, if you're listening to this and you're a casual Star Wars fan and you're like, there's like 11 movies, right? Like, I don't even know which one this is. Andrew is here to enlighten you.
Wait. Is there such a thing as a casual Star Wars fan?
Yeah.
You either love it
yes.
or you hate it. Right?
Yeah. No, there's I know. I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of casual fans that are just like people that are like, I know what it is. It's kind of neat. I saw it in the theater one time. I'm good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think there are those people.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know if they listen to this podcast, but they might be that. They might.
Well,
they might.
Probably not. Not our demographic.
You're right. I mean, you're not wrong. I think you're right. Speaking of demographics, this is actually kind of cool. So the podcast, we've been an international podcast for many years. We have consistent listeners in England and Spain and France, which I think is just really, really cool, by the way. We have had downloads in Russia, which is interesting, but mainly because we literally did a Russian film by a Russian director. So I think that kind of helps with that. And there's been some other kind of random Middle Eastern places that I honestly just think was like a soldier.
A bot.
Well, maybe a bot. You're not. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Maybe like someone that was deployed there.
Could be.
Because it was like one download in Afghanistan.
Bosnia.
So anyway, so we've hit a lot of the continents, and we can now add South America to our list of continents. We had downloads for our episode of Willow in Chile, or Chile.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is cool. And
thank you, Chileans.
yeah, Chileans. Yeah, we don't have any in Africa or Antarctica, but
None in Central Africa.
no. Oddly enough, Central Africa is actually boycotting the show. That is a deep cut. Go back and listen to our episode on Congo. Obviously, North America we've got covered. We actually have one in Honduras for Central America, which is kind of neat. We do have listeners in Australia, and we've had a handful of downloads in Vietnam. So we've got like Southeast Asia covered. And then, I'm super.
Vietnam.
Yeah. And so our Canadian listeners, as well as our British and our other European listeners, I'm very thankful. I mean, it's just super cool that you guys.
Hey, I know
all-
that Canadian guy.
Do you?
Good story.
You caught me off guard with that one. I was saying we
that
do.
moment of silence brought to you by disbelief.
Yeah, exactly. Because we all do know a Canadian that we play video games with, but he has 100% told me he's not listened to our show, which is fine.
No. I know the other guy.
The other Canadian?
Yeah, the other one.
Oh, there's more than, I think there's more than two.
Nope.
Well, there has to be because I'm actually I have actually booked a Canadian to come on our podcast in about a month or so. So not only are we going to be an internationally listened to podcast, but we will be an internationally produced podcast, which is pretty neat.
Oh, I hope that he fits all the Canadian stereotypes too.
I want you to know.
I really hope that he's like super friendly, even when we cuss him out.
I don't know. We'll find
He
out.
says
He has
thank
his podcast is called Film Rage.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
but
And-
what kind of rage can a Canadian really have?
Well,
That is
Let's
entirely
be honest.
I mean, I did listen to an episode, and there was a lot less yelling than I thought there was going to be. But that's okay. But Phil, go check out Film Rage at your convenience, so you can listen to our upcoming guests. Now that I've done all of that and wasted all of your time on talking about the podcast, let's talk about Star Wars: Phantom Menace. Andrew.
2 Jedi escape a hostile blockade to find allies and come across a young boy who may bring balance to the Force, but the long dormant Sith resurface to claim their original glory.
Okay.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we are.
Yeah.
Is that from IMDb?
Yeah.
Long
The-
dormant Sith.
The long dormant. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they even
said,
say 1,000 generations, right? Or 1,000 years or something like that in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bleh.
Okay, that's fine.
some point we like to hibernate before we come back to claim our thrones.
They're like really dark cicadas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just.
That's what it is.
I'm glad you went there because I was thinking that too, which is weird.
And
Yes.
They merge every 17 years and make a lot of noise and then die off. So
Actually, yeah,
pretty much it.
yeah. Sith are like cicadas. I like that. Sithcadas. I know there's a pun there.
Sithcadas.
Sithcadas. There's a-
Trademark.
Yeah, yeah. Sithcadas. Oh my gosh. Yep, trademark. There we go.
Yeah.
So, Sam, why don't you
Yeah.
hit us with your 5-word review?
All right, I've got 3 here, and I'm going to be completely honest.
I would hope nothing else.
The first one is a hot pile of Gungan poo.
Gungan poo. Okay.
Gungan poo. Almost. My another one is only 3 words, but it's pretty much sums it up. Almost completely irredeemable.
Oh wow.
And my favorite one for this is shiniest turd I've ever seen.
Okay.
This
Don't hold back.
is I waited years and years and years for Star Wars to come back to life. Right? I was pretty much my childhood was all about Star Wars. I collected Transformers, I collected Star Wars figures, and I watched these movies religiously, wearing out the tapes. We watched them so much. So when we heard that Lucas was coming back with prequels, everybody's expectation was absolutely through the roof. That's part of the problem to begin with, right? Everybody expected Lucas to come back and have kind of that special style, that special sauce that he was able to create with the first 3, or at least the first one. And it's just completely not there. And it's such a disappointment. And there are a few things in this movie that he did well, but there is so much that he did wrong. There's so much that he did wrong that it's surprising to me that Star Wars was able to survive this movie. It really is. And I'm just, I don't know. It makes me sad watching this again. And number one, because I watched it maybe a month ago with my kids, right? And the graphics are bad. The story is horrendous. The characters are undeveloped and stupid. The logic isn't there, and the Jedi are so OP that there is no stakes in this movie until Darth Maul comes and fights them, which is probably my favorite part of it. And the only redeemable quality is Duel of Fates and the Darth Maul fight. But even then, how stupid is it that Darth Maul is hanging over Obi-Wan, and showering him with sparks when he could simply, cut off a hand or a head, or simply drop the lightsaber on him to kill him off and get him out of the way. So it's just, there's so many bad decisions in this movie that I fully and completely put it at the foot of Lucas, and the inability for him to take criticism on anything dealing with stories or characters within this. Does it look good? Like I said, it's a shiny turd, right? It's got interesting stuff that would sell toys to 8-year-olds. But does it make any sense? No. Does it make you care about the characters? No. Does it even matter in the overarching Anakin story arc? No. This is just, it's a bad movie and should never have been made.
Well, to your very, very specific point about how the franchise survived this movie, it survived this movie because it made $1 billion.
Well, that's because everybody expected, right?
Well, I mean, I'm giving you a real world reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in the desert and you need water, you're going to drink whatever water's in front of you, even if the camel just pissed in it.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, if John Carter had made $1 billion, they'd be 7 of those movies. But instead, it made 38 million, which is why they didn't make any more. Yeah, I disagree with some of the things you said, but we'll get into that. Andrew, do you want to go there?
Well, like a hand-knitted sweater from Grandma, this is the gift that no one asked for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my 5-word reviews, I have 2 of them. Thanks, George Lucas, you jerk. I kind of had to channel my inner Shawn for that one, because that's something he says, you jerk. And then the other one that I have is a little racist, are we?
Yeah. Do you think it's worse or better than the Transformer racism?
No, this one is it's bad. There's moments in this. They might as well just say, they might as well have the Gungans in Run DMC shirts, and then Straight Outta Compton stickers on the back of their transports, and then the Trade Federation should be apparently driving around with their blinkers on and eating rice. That's what should be happening right now. That's how racist this movie is. And I know I just made it worse by saying the things that I said, because those were very racist as well. But that
in a bitty.
But that's what this movie is. We just lost all of our African American and Asian listeners, and I apologize.
So you can go ahead and cross off those people that we added.
There goes
Maybe
Eastern
we'll pick
Asia.
up another Canadian. But I mean, this movie, it just, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little more, I guess, woke. I don't know. Is that the term? Is that the thing that kids say now?
I don't know.
I'm just maybe a little more aware of it, because this time as I watched it, I just picked up on it. Like I always picked up on it, especially those Trade Federation people. But
the crazy thing is, I never realized they were spoofing Asians in as Trade Federation. No, I knew the Gungans, but I never thought about the Trade Federation being caricatures.
Yeah, and they are. And George Lucas should have just left this alone. I mean, put it in a book, leave it alone with the book. That's fine. Yeah. But his issue is he always tries to be too spectacular, and he ruins it with this. I mean, okay, let me back up. Hold on. When we got the original 3, 4, 5, and 6, we had some really great new technology that really took the film industry really far in a lot of aspects.
Yep.
And we wouldn't have some of the stuff that we have today if not for George Lucas and if not for Star Wars.
And industrial light and magic is
right. And I
the
think that
basis of all that.
I think he tried to do this again with the prequels. I think we saw technology available and saw the changes that were happening in film, and again, just I think he overdid it. I think if he had stayed simple or gone with those original filming skills, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. And I know Star Wars, the prequels are not the pioneer movies of any of these visual effects, but I don't know. I think you just try to take them too far. And it just kind of ruined it. But I agree with everything you said, Sam, as far as I think the story's weak. I think the characters I don't care about them. And I think that everyone who's watched this agrees that Jar Jar is the most annoying character ever in the Star Wars universe. Yeah. And Hayden Christensen was the worst choice for Anakin, even though he's not really in this one. The whole character of Anakin in these three is just this whiny little kid. Even when he's an adult, he's a whiny little kid.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, and let me piggyback on that as well in terms of you guys know one of my biggest complaints on the movie Ender's Game was that the kids were all too old, right? And I need you guys to remind me of things like Phantom Menace when they have these younger actors and how bad it can be. That I am completely and utterly wrong in terms of my my opinion on that type of thing. Because Anakin's just not good in this movie. The kid actor is just not good in this movie.
So I was thinking about that, and I knew we were going to get here at one point, and I was thinking to myself is that I'm actually going to leave Jake Long, it's the name of the kid, alone in this, because I think he's doing the best that he can. And
yeah.
And I'm
not. That doesn't mean he's a good actor.
I'm not saying he's good. I'm not saying
It doesn't mean he's not. He's well directed. It just
and I think that's part of the problem.
It's rare to have a good young actor.
You're not wrong. Yeah, little kid actors being good, it is hard, right? I mean, like we just saw the little girl in Kong versus Godzilla, and she was really good. Now she had to deliver 0 lines. All she had to do was act, visually. Right. But she was really good at those things, so we have no idea how she would have been delivering lines. I'm just going to go on record and say I don't think Jake's actually all that bad. I thought he did fine with what he was asked to do. He was not given a lot of good things to do. You're right, he does come across as whiny, but I think George is trying to
coaching.
Yeah, I think George is trying to get us to realize that Anakin has a lot of mommy issues, and which is what ultimately leads to his demise is because of these issues and these feelings and all the things that Yoda says.
Let's not forget that Luke was also pretty whiny in A New Hope.
He was.
Luke was whiny in every movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not just New Hope.
He was whiny. So, he was his maximum whiniest in A New Hope.
The Last Jedi was pretty bad.
Yeah,
Remember he threw the lightsaber down the side of the mountain.
That's
true.
true.
A temper tantrum for like the first half of the film.
Oh, The Last Jedi. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's a familial trait.
There you go.
It's genetic. Whininess is genetic. I don't know. It still doesn't. It still points out a lack of directorial influence in terms of making it good. Right. Either keep the kid, shut up. Figure out a different way to express those lines or express the ideas that the kid is saying. Age the kid, which is probably what he should have done, is had Anakin be a little bit older and even used the actor you would have used in all 3 movies. It would make the whole Padme relationship less creepy.
Yeah.
It's just again, there's so many bad directorial decisions, and that's just one of the big ones in my mind.
I remember being in ninth grade when this came out, which ages me, I guess, but not as much as it does Sam, so that's cool. So I
Shut
remember
up, guys.
at
You guys
that
shut up.
time, I remember at that time thinking, and as a ninth grader, thinking, okay, this relationship is very wrong, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I agree. I think maybe he should have been a little bit older. I think an older actor would have been better for this part. But I think for the story, they want to train younglings as young kids, and so I think for that
Yeah.
reason, he tried to keep him young. But if that's the case, make Padme a little younger. I don't know.
Yeah. Or simply find a different way to say that story about not training Jedi, or a different way to do it.
Well,
Because-
they go into it that he's too old, and
Right.
the reason why he's too old is because the younglings are taken from their families at such a young age so that they don't miss their parents. They don't have that attachment to parents. It's kind of a messed up system. Let's just be real. The Jedi are kind of insane with a lot of that stuff, but
It's a cult.
you're not wrong. It's just a cult that can fight really well. So, anyway, Melissa, what was your 5-word review? You said you had several.
I have 2. One is it's better than episode 2. And then my second one is before it got very ooey. So
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will take this over the second one any day of the week, just because that Padme and Anakin relationship really creeps me out. Because you go from this episode where he's like 8 and she's like 20 probably, because she's running an entire
Well, she's
race
like
of people,
she's
right?
legit like 13. She's supposed to be
Yeah,
like
but
13 or 14.
But it feels like she's 20, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then the next one, all of a sudden, he's like very weird, very awkward, and like I can't take it. So this one's a lot better in my thoughts, I believe. But I don't know. I remember right before this came out, when they announced this, and they started putting out all the promotional stuff that you could buy. And I remember I looked and looked for it. It was that promotional. It was the poster where it was up against like a pyramid, and it was the little Anakin walking, but Darth Vader's shadow behind him.
Yeah.
I still have it.
Yeah.
I loved that poster. I was so pumped for the movie. And then whenever I remember going to watch it on release, and I remember being so excited for it. And then whenever I got out of there, I was so mad the entire way home. And I was just like, what just happened? Why is this even a thing?
And I wonder how many people felt that way.
Everyone.
Right.
I wonder because I honestly, I wasn't a huge Star Wars fan as a kid. My dad was a huge Star Wars fan. And that's how I was introduced to Star Wars. And so as a kid, I watched 4, 5, and 6 before they were 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
And so when this one came out again, when I was in ninth grade, I thought, okay, kind of curious. But when I walked out of the theater, I wasn't extremely upset, because I guess, like you said, I was kind of a casual Star Wars fan at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw that, it didn't bother me that much. But now that I have gotten older and I've watched them all many times, and my kids are into it, and we've seen the series and all the different series and things, now I get it. I get why people would have walked out of there upset. And I didn't get that back then. I just thought, it's okay. I was a lot like your son.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's interesting, Andrew. I'm trying to remember, because this would have come out, all of the Star Wars movies, I think all of them except like Solo, came out at Christmas. That was their thing. They were all Christmas releases. And so Christmas of '99 would have been going into my senior year.
No.
Right?
I think it was right after It was like around May or something because it was like graduation.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, May 23rd, 99.
Yeah.
Why did I think it was Christmas? I don't know. Whatever. Weren't the 3 new ones Christmas releases, though?
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking? Maybe I'm thinking of Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings were Christmas releases. All the 3 of those were Christmas releases. I'm sorry. Anyway, so
Harry Potter was always Christmas.
Oh, maybe that's what it was too. Okay, I'm conflating them. Sorry. So May 23rd of 1999, I would have been a junior in high school, and I remember going to the theater and seeing it, and I actually remember being kind of in awe of the technology, of the spectacle of the thing, right? Like, I think this was geared for a younger than me, but this movie worked on me enough that a lot of the things that bother me now didn't bother me then. And I would probably say I was a bigger fan than Andrew. I mean, I wore those tapes out. We had them on tape, and I remember the summer when we moved. I grew up in a little town called High Point in North Carolina, and my parents were having the house built, and we couldn't afford to live in a house while having another one built. So we sold the house and then lived in our camper at the campground for 5 months while the house was built. So if it was a rainy day, it means I couldn't go swimming at the campground or go fishing or whatever. I was watching Star Wars because we didn't bring with us our entire movie collection on VHS into the camper. So I probably watched legit this trilogy 20 times that summer alone. I mean, these are probably the 3 movies I've seen. I would argue maybe Wrath of Khan I've probably seen more, but maybe. So anyway, but I was very excited, like a lot of you, or all of you were, when they announced that this thing was coming out. I just remember being so excited, and I don't remember being let down. It wasn't until the second one came out, and then I remember thinking, there's some stuff in the first one that doesn't really work, but there's a lot that still works for me. So my 5-word review, I haven't said that yet. So I'm going to do my 5-word review because I want to talk about the stuff that I liked, because I don't want this just to be, shit on Star Wars. But with
it's not poo on Star Wars. It's poo on
this movie and George
movie.
Lucas and stuff like that. So with that, literally with me saying that, I will then say my 5-word review of my least favorite Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just
simple. I this was my least favorite. I know, Melissa, you said you'd rather watch this than the second one. I can't track with you there, but it's not.
I'm with Melissa on that one.
It's not much different.
One is really bad.
Creepy.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't watched the second one, like sat through it in a while. So maybe this time watching it, I'm gonna.
Yeah,
obviously I'm gonna do it
when we do it. Yeah, when we do it,
do it next week.
There's about
sounds like a dare.
It's like
terrible.
a 2+ hour movie, right?
It's 2:20. Yeah.
So they have about 2 hours worth of filler in a 20-minute movie.
Well, it's not just filler; it's just Anakin being weird.
There is a lot of, and I do remember a lot of like lingering smiles and lingering looks, and it is weird how, because these movies are supposed to be in time to real life. They're supposed to be 3 years apart. So it is weird that 8-year-old Jake turns into 16-year-old Anakin in 3 years.
Yeah.
It is weird. So, but some of the stuff that still works on me, and Andrew, you might remember this. I don't remember if you were living with me or not. So when it was one of the years in college, and I had just bought my new subwoofer for the apartment.
I remember that. Yeah.
And the first movie I tested my subwoofer out on was Phantom Menace. I had the DVD. I had the very nice DVD set that had pictures and a book and all this stuff. And I watched the pod racing scene on that with surround sound.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, 5-point surround sound, and we're talking 2002, that was kind of a big deal. And with that subwoofer, I had it nestled in the corner, kind of under. We had a tiered seating. We actually had a couch on a piece of lumber on cinder blocks.
It was like a movie theater.
It was like a movie theater. We had 2 tiered seating. It was really, really kind of nice. And I remember the guy. I was on the first floor of an apartment, and the guy on the third floor came down, knocked on my door, and said, "Hey, man, I know I don't want to be that guy, but like you're shaking my dishes." And I was like, hey, I'm just checking out the new subwoofer, watching the Star Wars, and he stayed and like watched the rest of the pod racing scene, and then left. And I turned because I had it 100%, right? You back it down to 50, but the pod racing scene still works for me as the spectacle that it is. You know, like it's kind of a beautiful. The sound design is amazing. Okay, I just want to get that out of the way. Listening to it on my new sound system that I have now on my 65-inch TV, the sound design works really well for this movie.
Yeah.
And I know I feel like maybe I'm only giving love to Industrial Light and Magic and Skywalker sound, but
yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, the look, like I said, it's a shiny turd, and it looks amazing.
Well,
do I wish it was a little bit more lived in and puppetry and things like that? Absolutely, but it still has pretty cool design elements in all of that. I will say this: have you ever been to a NASCAR race?
Yes.
I've not sat
and
one. I've worked with them. I've never. Yeah.
We could pretty much assume that the pod race is a lot like a NASCAR race, right?
It is, yeah.
Yes.
Where they're going around. If you ever go to a NASCAR race,
minus the people shooting at them as they go by, yeah. Well, it depends on where it is, but yeah.
If you happen to sit in decent seats, you're going to be able to see the entire track, right? There is a reason why it's more interesting to be able to see the entire track, because you can see what happens. Unless there's drones above these racers showing this gigantic track that's so remote that sand people are shooting them, in the middle of it. I don't see how there's a draw to it, because as far as we can tell, the design of this sport is the finish line, right? You get to see him cross the finish line, and that's about it. That's like how this movie is, right? It looks great, it sounds great, it there's an idea, but the execution of it all doesn't coalesce and does not make sense.
Well, she was holding an iPad, right? She was holding her pad. She
Right.
was watching something. So I think you're right. I think there are some kind of drone cameras floating around at 400 miles per hour, keeping track of what's happening. So there would have to be some kind of jumbotron there for people to experience, because they're cheering when people explode and stuff. Like they're aware of what's happening. So I'm going on on what information the movie gave me to say that, they have some kind of drone. I mean, announcer guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway has to have some kind of cameras because he's commentating on as people are crashing and whatever. So
yeah,
I did appreciate that Steve Jobs helped us out with some iPad usage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No wonder he did so well for himself.
Yeah.
He got to a galaxy far away.
So staying here at the pod race and to your point, Sam, and no, seriously, here's one of the things that we love about Star Wars 4, 5, and 6 is that it's kind of a Western, right? Because not just the fact that Tatooine is dirty and sandy and whatever, because when they go to the other planets, it's jungle and frozen tundra. But it's still kind of a Western because everything is weird and dirty and grimy, and like the Falcon looks like it's, about to fall apart at any time, and like even the X-wings look battle hardened and scarred, and then we get to Naboo and everything is perfect and clean, and their fighters look like little model toys because they're so clean and perfect. The reason why I like the pod racing scene is because those pod racers are all weird looking and dirty and like that moment, literally the pod racing scene and the battle at the end are the only two moments where I'm like, this feels like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because that's the only action in the entire movie. And that was one of my complaints. Yeah. Like there's no more action in that, like anywhere. There's one fight in the beginning and then at the end.
Yeah.
Star Wars needs to be a little bit more action to keep you, because otherwise it's like this lull the entire time. They're discussing stuff and they're meeting with the council and they're meeting with the everybody. Like it's
Yeah.
just a bunch of meetings. I feel like I'm sitting in on a meeting when I'm watching him. You know.
But at that same point, that's what makes the next two so bad, is that they jam packed it with so much useless action and non story driven action that it makes it bad. And I don't know if that was a how do you say it, a reflection of this first movie and the problems with it, but it certainly says something. Who cares about trade? I'm for good Lord, I teach economics at a college level, and I'm sitting here bored to death about trade law and trade and blockades, where I should be like, oh man, yeah, that makes complete sense. That a trade federation, a federation that wants trade and deals with trade, is blockading the trade of a planet. That
Imagine
makes no
what
sense.
the tariffs must be.
Right? So it's
we should have a
And
prequel.
the taxes.
Yeah,
literally
Oh my
like
God, the taxes.
it's like the Jake kid wrote this script, and Lucas was like, "Yeah, man, that sounds great to me."
No, because if Jake would have written it, it would have been way more of the Jar Jar bumbling and the robots punching each other in the face. It would have been more of the Three Stooges comedy, which I hate, by the way.
By the way,
God.
Notice that I haven't complained a whole lot about Jar Jar, even though I made the little thing on there.
Yeah.
And I do that because they are desperately trying to do the Ewok thing, right?
Yeah.
See, here's the thing, though. The Ewoks are at least cute. I mean, like, Wicket is the only, literally, in the entire, all of the Ewok battle and Return of the Jedi, there's only one bumbling moment, really. It's when Wicket does the thing where he's going to spin the rock and the thing gets around his neck and he, like, hits himself in the head. That's the only kind of bumbling time with the Ewoks. The rest of the time, they're kind of falling down and stuff. But for the most part, they're actually contributing to the story. Whether you think it's a valuable contribution is not the point. They're contributing to the battle, so to speak. Whereas there was just so much slapstick. So this was what I teased this earlier. When Jar Jar gets his face numbed by the little energy coupler thing, I looked over at my son and I said, "Do you think this is funny?" Because he wasn't laughing. And he kind of looked at me and smiled. He was like, "I mean, a little bit. It's kind of funny." I'm like, "Because you're not laughing."
Yeah.
And like they made this part of the movie for you. For me, well, okay, for kids your age. He goes, I mean, it's kind of funny. Like their target audience was not humored by what was happening.
No,
and I think that's because
I
think that's because it was the comedy that an adult would think a kid would enjoy.
Yes.
And it wasn't original. It wasn't, what's the word? Original is not the word I'm looking for. Organic, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I think of it like this, right? Game of Thrones up until maybe season 5 or 6 was absolutely brilliant. The story was amazing, and the rest of it fell completely on its face. And I think these prequels is when Star Wars fell on its face. They ran out of story. They ran out of creative storytelling and ideas, and it just didn't work.
Well, I'll disagree simply because this is George Lucas's dream and this is his thing. I think the bigger issue is not that they ran out of ideas or story. I think he had the story. He's always had the story, and he had a very specific way he wanted to tell it, which is why he did it out of order, so to speak. But what I think the problem is that George Lucas has now proven very vividly that he is not a good director, that he is a great producer. I mean, the best Star Wars movie, arguably, we can have that argument. Well, we're not going to have it tonight, but the argument can be made that it's Empire Strikes Back, which is one he didn't direct.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, of the movies that he would have had the opportunity to direct. I know that we all hold Rogue One in high regard, but George Lucas was well out of the picture. Melissa's shaking her head no. The three of us love Rogue One.
What?
And of the 11 Star Wars movies that have been made, it's probably all in our top 3.
Yeah.
So.
Ouch. Sorry, dog's attacking.
Yeah, but anyway, So, go ahead, Melissa.
watching it with my kids actually made it better this time for me. I don't know. My kids were laughing. They really liked the pod racer scene. And my son absolutely loves Darth Maul. And I think that's what's wrong with this movie is they could have implemented Darth Maul a little bit more. They had him in 2 scenes.
Yeah.
And we had this character that is just so
Menacing.
like, yes, he's evil looking and he's awesome looking and he's got a dual saber, you know? How cool is this dude? And we only get to see him like twice.
By far, one of the best things to come out of the prequels is Darth Maul. And it was a wasted character.
Agreed.
So there's lots and lots of trivia about this movie, more than I could read in an evening. So there's a lot that I didn't read, but one of them was that the actor has gone on record saying that he recorded significantly more lines than what we saw. He has 3 lines in the whole movie, 3 in the entire movie. And there's one that's actually, if you go back and find the original trailer, there's this long kind of soliloquy about revenge. And because he says in the movie, at last we'll have our revenge. But he goes on like this long, like why, what that means to him and like why he's doing the thing that he's doing. And you guys are right. He's such a wasted character. And what makes him great is what we get to see later on in the cartoon where he becomes a really, really interesting character. And
well, now that we're on the topic of characters, let me ask you this. Who was the main protagonist in this movie?
I had forgotten, but Qui-Gon Jinn has a lot of stuff. I mean, Liam Neeson carries this movie.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon Jinn, right?
He's not around long enough. They kill him off. They could have kept him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because he was I really liked him. I thought his character was great. But
how would you, without describing how he looks, how would you describe the Qui-Gon Jinn character?
I don't know what you're asking.
Well, let me ask you this. All right, without describing any kind of looks or costume or anything like that, describe Han Solo.
Swashbuckling. Was I going to say? I was going to say nerf herder. You know, like scruffy looking. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Like he's a pirate. He's a space pirate.
Okay. How about Luke?
Whiny
teen.
Yeah. Kind of a whiny teen looking to make a name for himself, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Okay. How about Qui-Gon Jinn?
He's
to me he's the seasoned. Like if you relate this to a military film, he's the more experienced soldier that the younger one is learning from.
What about Padme?
Well, Padme, not Padme. But back to Qui-Gon, he actually
is actually edamame.
He's actually he actually fits the trope that his apprentice would later create, and that's what we call the Obi-Wan trope. As when you have Mentor Man who's teaching the young buck about how to do things, that we refer to that as the Obi-Wan Kenobi trope. He literally is that trope in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the problem, and the reason I ask these questions is these characters are so undeveloped. We really have a hard time describing anything other than what they simply look like. If Padme is barely developed in this movie, Anakin is barely developed. If anything, this movie should have been about the relationship between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. But we had two incredible actors, right? In this part, why not focus it around them and then have the story of Anakin, interwoven in their adventure, right? We watch Star Wars for the adventure. We don't watch it for debates in the Senate. We don't watch it for dry, barely acted Padme scenes, right? We watch it for an adventure. And I personally think, and now that Game of Thrones is a thing, Qui-Gon Jinn's death should have rocked us to our core.
Yep.
And if he had been the protagonist of this movie, and if we had spent the majority of our time with him, we would have been absolutely rocked by his death, especially if the relationship with Obi-Wan had been focused on more. And I think they could have done it. But instead, George Lucas has so much extra crap that he couldn't see the forest through the trees.
Yeah.
The Force.
I agree.
Just like in episode 3 where you have the scene between Anakin and Obi-Wan, that should have kind of been the same thing with like the feeling there of him losing his brother, right?
Exactly. The theme
But we
could
didn't
have been
have
running
that.
through all three of these movies.
Right.
These mentor mentee brother, what it means to be a mentor, what it means to be being trained. And one of the reasons why Anakin turned is because the mentorship of Palpatine and the abandonment that he felt from the Jedi.
We should have gotten Riggs and Murtaugh, and instead we got Riggs and the coffee guy.
Right.
Yeah. We didn't even get Riggs. That's the problem.
Well, that's true. We didn't get Riggs.
Riggs is at least a character.
Yeah, I mean,
we got two stiffs walking around with lightsabers and chopping up these droids with like butter, and it's such a poorly directed movie. It makes me mad when I watch it again.
Well, I thought this earlier and I didn't say it, and it's something that I think about all the Star Wars films, even the first one, and people could debate me on this, and I'm sure George Lucas would deny it. But all of these movies, and this is like sacrilege to Star Wars fans, and I'm probably going to get hate mail for this, but I don't care. I kind of feel like George Lucas made all this up as he was going along.
That's
like
what it feels like. Yeah, he winged it.
Just like, I just feel like some of the stuff he came up with on the fly and was like, nope, that's what I wanted the whole time.
Right. Well, what kind of bothers me about it is like we had scenes like those that could have been cut, like that whole Gooba Fish chase scene. It could have been cut, and it could have been like a Darth Maul scene or more Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan forming a bond, but it wasn't. It was, hey, let's do this fish chase for 5 minutes. That didn't need to be in there. One, and it served no purpose because they got to where they were going anyways. I don't know.
They were showing
could
off
have done
CGI.
Or have a quirky conversation between a mentor and a mentee in a dangerous situation where they are playing off each other or that they are creating this relationship. Yeah. There's ways to incorporate action into storytelling, and Lucas does not know how to do it.
I think part of I guess I do want to say this. I guess I'm going to argue with Sam, but I don't really know why. But because I don't want to feel like I have to put myself in a position where I'm defending this movie.
Well, it says you have to in the script.
Well, you're not wrong. It does say that.
That is our thing. So
Qui-Gon is in the movie a lot. Liam Neeson he's probably in 75% of this movie. So it's not like he's not in the movie. He's in it a lot. Now, most of the time he's acting with children. And I include Jar Jar in most of the time he's hanging out on Tatooine. That's where most of his time is. And so we don't, I'm saying, like, we get most, so I think the relationship that we want to have between mentor and mentee, the only moment we get that it's genuine and nice, we have two, is his death, where again, he's not even thinking about it. And Obi-Wan, he says, "You must promise me you'll train the boy." So even in his dying moment, he's like defying the council, which is kind of funny. And then the only other moment was when he's in front of the council and he says, "Obi-Wan is ready to take the trials. He has nothing more to learn from me." And they have this kind of sideways look like men do when they don't want to actually show emotions. They just kind of give that sideways look. Like, that was a genuine moment. And I thought, okay, that's kind of neat. Let's have more of that. But because I think George feels like this movie is supposed to be about Anakin and his development, because we're going to get Obi-Wan later. We're going to get Obi-Wan in 2 and 3. So we don't really need to have a lot of relationship between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon because ultimately it doesn't matter. I hate to say it. and I think Sam, you mentioned earlier, this movie doesn't need to exist because you could I could start my son on episode 2 and nothing would have changed because there isn't a character that's in 2 that we were introduced to in 1 that matters.
Yeah.
The only person that
it's almost the Indiana Jones problem, right? Where there's absolutely nothing that any of these people do that really impact the final.
Ultimately, I think that Qui-Gon affects this movie. I think Darth Maul affects this movie. I don't think that's totally the Indiana Jones bit, but over the 3 movies, I mean, really, I guess Qui-Gon's lasting effect is that he kind of guilts Obi-Wan into training Anakin, which without that moment, we'd never have a Darth Vader, right? So, I mean, obviously those moments have lasting thing. But like, my point is that my son could watch episode 2, having never seen 1, and immediately get off the bat, this Amidala person is a senator, and that's cool. She's young, but whatever. And here's Anakin, and here's Obi-Wan. And we don't need to know, there's never a mention of, Qui-Gon is mentioned again in episode 3, but, it's just, you guys are 100% right that there was a missed opportunity in creating a relationship between the two of them, or creating a relationship between Qui-Gon and the kid. I mean, maybe if Qui-Gon dies defending the kid or something, then maybe his impact, maybe it's more impactful. I don't know. Instead of him accidentally saving the day.
Agreed.
And then doing the trope that I can't stand. I don't understand why when he blows up the capital ship and all the droids deactivate, they break. Is the
they're magnetized?
Is that what it is?
It's all about magnetism. It has to be. That's the only logical excuse, right?
Yeah. I get if they just turned off, but I don't understand why they slump over and then their heads fall off. That makes zero sense. But
yeah. The droids, while they look interesting, they're just. I don't know why these 2 Jedi didn't just go and try to massacre the entire droid army while they were on these, hiding on the ship, because they could have just stopped the war right then and there. Because the droids just can't do anything. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah, which seems dumb because they're droids. The only imperfections
they're programmed.
Yeah, the only imperfections would be in the blaster, in the aim ability of the blaster, but they should never miss. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I like how whenever they're examining one of those ships, they're talking about the accuracy of stormtroopers in this one too. Did you guys catch that? They're actually talking about the accuracy of stormtroopers.
I remember they said that in A New Hope. Did they say that in this one too?
Was it this one? I watched both of them this weekend. I could have them both crossed.
Yeah, and because Obi-Wan makes that's a great argument that has been brought up before, and I think even I've said it on this podcast, is that when
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, when Obi-Wan is talking to Luke, he says these blast points are far too accurate to be sand people. These are done by stormtroopers.
Right.
And it begs the question is then why are the stormtroopers so bad at shooting? And then if you look at in A New Hope, they needed them to escape so that they would, because they had a tracking device
tracker beam
on the Falcon. So the stormtroopers were specifically told, don't kill them, right? Just shoot near them, right? And then, because the stormtroopers wipe out the rebel base on Hoth. Now again, they have giant walking tanks, but they wipe them out pretty quickly. And then the next time we see stormtroopers aiming badly is when they're trying to get Luke to go fight Vader in 5. Now, there's kind of no excuse for them getting their asses kicked by little giant teddy bears, but little giant teddy bears, that's not a thing.
But then in Phantom Menace, you have the sand people sniping people off of moving targets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they mixed them up.
Yeah,
what was my point?
Whatever.
Speaking of the Ewoks, I know we talked about that earlier, but let's revisit Jar Jar for just a moment.
Shall we?
Do we have to?
Yeah, we have to, because I thought about this when I was watching it. If they had said all right, when we're filming this, we're not going to have Jar Jar speak anything that's that we can understand. We just want him to make some sort of Gungan language, and we
Kinda
can
like-
have the Jedi interpret.
Kind of like Chewbacca.
Kind of like how, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Would we have found it less annoying?
Yes.
I think so. I
think
really
so.
do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like the way that a toddler would speak. Maybe I think even some toddlers speak better than
Pig Latin.
Yeah, Pig Latin. It just, I think that because we're on an alien planet, everybody speaks English, and then suddenly we have like the Wookiees and the Ewoks that don't speak a language that we can understand,
Yeah.
and we're okay with those.
Yeah.
But
It's not very Star Wars of Lucas to have everybody speaking English.
right.
Yeah, I mean, Chewbacca doesn't speak English. Jabba the Hutt needs a translator because Hutt-ese is its own language, which we learn later. I mean, we're okay with it not being translated. I mean, just Han's reaction to Chewie is good. When Chewie just makes a noise and Han says, "Oh, you're cold." Like we didn't know that we didn't need to hear him say, "I'm cold." It's perfectly fine, and. I think, Andrew, you're onto something that maybe, because Jar Jar and Yoda are the only two species in the universe that speak broken English. And one of them sounds intelligent,
Well,
one of them doesn't.
And the Trade Federation people.
Yeah. Well, that's true. But look at
I guess you're right.
Look at Groot from the Avengers, or Guardians of the Galaxy. He doesn't say a word other than "I am Groot," but we all get it. And we love him for it. I think it's one of the most beloved characters in the franchise. But I just feel like had we not needed all that dialogue and not needed the ridiculous sound that comes out of his mouth, we wouldn't hate him that much.
Yeah. And he'd be more like a cute pet than it would be a person, I guess you could say.
I remember whenever this came out, and when I saw it, I had just started talking to my husband, like we had just started dating basically, and I told him how much I hated Jar Jar Binks. And then one day, he was at college and he was eating cereal, and he got this little Jar Jar out of a box of cereal, and he handed it to me, and I was like, I'm just going to throw this thing away, and I've ended up keeping it. Because it reminds me of how much I actually hated this character. And I keep it back behind me on my shelf because I need a reminder every once in a while that I hate Jar Jar Binks. So
maybe that's a good way to focus your anger towards that thing. Like your kids are driving you crazy. Yeah. It's like, I'll just stare at this entombed Jar Jar.
It's not, at least it's not Jar Jar.
Yeah.
So for those who listen that are following us also on Twitter, so Sam posted a funny thing on, or he created the logo with a dead Jar Jar, and it's really interesting is that I'm getting some interesting reactions to it. And one of the things I have gotten is if you watch Clone Wars, Jar Jar is actually awesome. He saves their butts a couple times, and that's pretty accurate. Jar Jar is less awful in the Clone Wars. So someone made this
a cartoon, for God's sake.
So someone made this on this argument the other day, and though I don't totally agree, I know that people that do. I actually like Avengers: Age of Ultron. I don't hate it the way some people do. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But some people have said that the WandaVision show has made that movie better.
Yes,
because
much better.
Oh yeah.
And I don't disagree with that notion, and that's why, having now seen all of the cartoon, all of the Clone Wars, I'm about to jump into Bad Batch. It does kind of help with the prequel movies a little bit, in my opinion. It does.
But the movie should stand alone.
You're not wrong. Again,
you shouldn't have to read a novel to understand.
Well, you shouldn't have to add 4 hours to your Justice League movie for me to like it, but some reason but you had to. So there's that. Last couple notes I want to get through before we get into some clips and some other things that we typically do is I think that the entire long game plan is kind of ridiculous and kind of hard to follow. And I've seen this movie probably a dozen times, and I'm still not 100% sure what the point of it all was, but that's fine. I know that ultimately Palpatine needs to become the Chancellor. It just feels like there are less dumb ways to get there. Just have an actual vote. Just become.
Well, and there's also so much that could happen in his scheme that is not up to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's just, if all of a sudden Padme decides to get, weak in the knees and not, decides to sign the paperwork, right, then his whole scheme is off whack.
Yeah, there's a lot of it that just thinks if the Jedi actually capture the Trade Federation at the beginning of the movie, and they're like, well, we're actually working for a Sith Lord. Wait, what? Oh, okay, who? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not wrong. His plan, I don't have the clip in front of me, but his plan kind of sucks. Let's just be fair. His plan's kind of dumb. And that leads me to some other things. Now, again, love Star Wars as a whole. I love the Clone Wars cartoon, whatever. But I still have a hard time wrapping my brain around the idea of invading a planet. Naboo must be small. And I have
They did travel through the core to get to the other side.
Yeah,
in only a few hours.
A few hours or minutes. We don't really know. We have no idea. But I mean, Naboo must be really small. The fact that their entire defense system is 11 pilots and about 13 dudes and a couple of tanks. I mean, obviously they're not on gun happy Earth like we are, but it just. There's 9 billion people here. It's going to take a lot of drones to, it feels, and they do this all in Star Wars. It just feels like every planet in Star Wars has about 10,000 people on it total.
Yeah, they just pretty much took Cuba and rolled it up into a ball, and that's the planet.
Yeah, that's, and the idea also that, I don't know.
Maybe in that galaxy though. Planets are just smaller.
I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe the planets are smaller and scarcely populated. I mean, we're okay. I mean, I guess I have to be okay with the fact that there's a planet that elects a queen. Why is she a queen? You don't elect queens. And because I even remember when I watching it originally, and when Palpatine says she was elected, I thought, what? You don't elect queens. That doesn't make sense. Call her President Amidala. There's no reason to make her queen. Make her president.
We don't follow our earthly rules. Isn't that how she talks the entire time?
Yes, it's so bad. It's like, don't move your jaw. That's the direction she got.
Well, in all fairness, she could not move because she had a huge crescent roll on her head.
Now, my wife asked me that. She asked me, why does she talk in monotone when she's in queen garb? And I said, it's because it's the only way that her and Keira Knightley can sound the same. Because if they both use their normal voices, they would sound different enough that people would realize that she's not the queen.
Maybe.
Because she sounds different in 2 and 3.
She sounds very different in 2 and 3. Now she's a better actor. She's getting more chops. But when she's just pounding around with them on Tatooine, she doesn't sound like that. She doesn't sound like robot chick. Now knowing the big reveal at the end, I'm going back and watching to see if there are moments when Keira Knightley is the queen, if she's looking to Padme for cues, right? Because she seems to be making decisions, and that seems weird. It felt like she was. I don't know. It felt like she was acting as the queen more than she probably should have. It just seemed like she was making decisions.
Chris Hemsworth letting his stunt double make some acting decisions for him.
I guess. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Why does the governor stay? Was another note I made. Let's see. Oh, I also wrote, it's hard to imagine that the Gungans are higher on the food chain than those giant underwater dinosaur things. I feel like the Gungans would have lost that battle a long time ago.
There's only 3 of them.
One of them got eaten.
And by the end, there was only 2 by the end.
The Godzilla looking thing. How do you blockade an entire planet? Again, that always annoyed me in Star Wars. It's like there's 4 ships and they're at this. There's 360 degrees you could fly away from, and yet we have to
Even
go
more.
Yeah,
Even more than 360 degrees.
I guess you're right. That's on a
It's
singular
a
plane.
sphere.
Yeah, you're right.
Ouch, dog. Ow. Sorry.
I literally know your pain. That's always been a thing in Star Wars. It's like there's one ship directly in front of us. We can go in any direction, right? But whatever, Or it's like the Death Star. They come at a light speed. We have to orbit this planet. Why can't you just use light speed for another 2 seconds to get on the other side of the planet instead of waiting 30 minutes to go around? Whatever, it's fine. Midi-chlorian count stats for Jedi is a known thing. I think that's kind of weird to know.
That was the dumbest thing among the dumb things that Lucas did is to demystify the Force.
What would they put on their playing cards? You have to have your midichlorian count, your mini chlorine count.
The last thing I wrote down was that they need proof of the invasion. This is the dumbest plot point in the entire movie. They go to the Senate and say, hey, the Trade Federation has invaded my planet. And they're like, there's no proof. What? I have battle damage done to my ship from that you attacked me. Here's a video message of my governor from the planet saying the death toll is catastrophic. Like, this is not up for debate. I don't understand. In this world of technology, why can't they just phone? All right, anybody got Skype? Let's just Skype the planet now and see who answers, because I bet you it's the viceroy. It's not going to be my governor. I don't understand.
They did disrupt communications, by the way, to the entire planet.
Okay.
That's true.
Exactly. I can't communicate with my planet because the Trade Federation has limited our, there's... It's
a solar flare.
This moment makes
nothing worries here.
It makes no sense. This is the argument. And then when Palpatine's like, here comes the bureaucrats, blah. But I'm like, but that's the same bureaucrat that you keep on when you become chancellor. I don't understand. Either they're bad or they're not. See, now this is the stuff I get fired up about. It's like, yeah, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan could have been better. But how do you not like... Okay. All right. I'm done. Any other notes you guys got before I do clips?
Well, I do just want to say that the music, the score to this,
it's amazing.
Is great. It's another masterpiece from John Williams. The Duel of the Fates, the song the piece that they do when Anakin and the Chancellor are talking in the that's in the second one. Never mind. Scratch that.
Well, I actually like the parade at the end too. The Gungan parade.
Yeah,
that's a lot of fun.
That's not bad.
I like the horn riffs in it and stuff. There's a lot to be. I mean, the music is great. I mean, obviously, Duel of the Fates is the best thing to come out of this movie, other than
by far
Darth Maul, maybe. But yeah. All right.
He's my favorite composer. He's amazing.
Yep. Yep.
Oh no, it's great stuff. It's all the best. I mean, even his new stuff with the new movies. I like Rey's theme. I think it's very lovely. And
have you guys heard the theme to Galaxy's Edge? It's at Disney.
No.
That's the one that he'd recently won. I guess an Emmy or Academy Award or something. I don't know what he won. But yeah. It's great. It sounds nothing like Star Wars, but it's great.
Huh. I was gonna say I just finished up episode 3, and I think it was too much Williams in that one, believe it or not.
Oh, never could happen.
There were times when the music was, and honestly, I love all his music, but the music was so epic and so amazing, and it's like a ship docking. It's like, okay,
the best ship docking scene ever.
I want that when I go park my car.
It's like, we don't have to have this all the time. It just, anyway. So.
You don't. I would take it.
All right, here we go.
Soundtrack when I'm walking through my house.
Time for some clips. I don't have a lot, but I have a few. This is said in every Star Wars movie ever.
I have a bad feeling about this.
And that's the first line spoken by a Jedi in this movie, was that line. So
nice.
He was actually talking about the movie itself.
Yeah. Well... So this clip is actually an audio review of our podcast. This is actually not from Star Wars. This is from an audio review of our podcast, though for some reason Sam sounds like Jar Jar, but that's okay.
Oh, muy, I love you.
You almost got us killed. Are you brainless?
I speak.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.
See, like, it's kind of mean. I don't know. Just because we do a podcast and we can speak. Anyway. This is the first moment, and I know it's hard to imagine that it took about 12 minutes before, maybe closer to 20 minutes before I did my first big eye roll. But this was the moment in which I started to kind of hate Melissa. So here you go.
That moment.
Sorry, I gotta start over. You guys are laughing. All right, here we go.
Where are you taking them?
To Coruscant.
Coruscant, that doesn't compute. Wait, you're under arrest.
What? Who programmed
that moment is what made you hate me? That moment?
This was the first part, yeah. Because the idea is that either these robots are so sentient that they have free will, or someone programmed it to say, why would you do that? I don't understand that. Because
the AI is learning. Because
no point in any of the other 3 Star Wars movies, right, 4, 5, and 6, do we ever hear C-3PO say, I don't know what to say.
He's a protocol droid. He has been trained in the art of language.
R2-D2 says it all the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, he's actually got a potty mouth on him, but
exactly.
I just that's so annoying. You're under arrest, and that's the biggest complaint I've had. We've all, Sam and Andrew and I have said about the Clone Wars cartoon series is that the first season is nothing but that stuff, and it's just the worst. To my dragon,
I'm debating jumping into the second season because I just can't get through it.
I think
it gets far better.
It's so good, dude. I mean, seriously, you have to take your medicine in one, and if you've suffered one, it only gets better. It gets so much better. Ahsoka, like, by the time you get into season like 3 and 4, you're in. I'm telling you, dude. Just watch it with the girls.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we tell you to watch The Office, right?
Right.
Yeah, you should do that, Shawn.
Okay, is that a thing? If I start watching The Office, you'll do.
Or to finish up Game of Thrones until season 7 or season 6.
I vote Office.
Yeah,
I think you would enjoy The Office.
Office is a little bit less of a time commitment too. Like I can watch an episode at work, during my lunch.
I don't know. Wait until you get to the episode with Will Ferrell in it, and it feels like a very long time.
Okay. So here's a weird thing. So I clipped this part because it was just this part. This is a dumb bit of dialogue, but only if you really are desperate. Go back and watch Obi-Wan, or I guess, Obi-Wan, I forgot his real name. Ewan McGregor. Watch his mouth. He doesn't say the word 20,000. I don't know what he says, but it's not 20,000. It's dubbed over. But anyway, I entitled this over 9,000. So there you go for my Dragon Ball Z fans out there. It's over 9,000.
The reading is off the chart. Over 20,000.
Even Master Yoda doesn't have a midichlorian count that high.
No Jedi has.
Because I have all their stat cards. But he does not say 20,000. So maybe whatever he said, they came back and thought, maybe that doesn't sound enough. I don't know, but whatever.
I'll trade you a Yoda card for a Qui-Gon card.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember this.
I had a Darth Maul card, but it ripped in half.
Oh, boo.
No, that's actually great. That's great. That's amazing. No, that's I like that. Last clip I have is the line that what? Okay, here we go.
To state our allegations, I present Queen Amidala, recently elected ruler of the Naboo, who speaks on our behalf.
And everyone said, she's 12. What is she doing here?
You elected a queen?
Yeah, you elected.
And she's 12?
Yeah, who elected?
And what's on her head?
What was your campaign slogan? The hair? I don't know. Okay. Before I do trivia, we have a really cool little thing. So I have a little, basically like a little promo that I'm going to do for my buddy Steven here. So we're going to take a little break and let Steve Everett take over for a moment.
Hey, Cheapseat Review Nation. This is friend of the podcast, Steve Everett. Maybe you've heard my song as the intro to Cheapseat Reviews, but I've got a new record, Little Wins, and it's out everywhere worldwide. You can find out more at steveeverett.net, and I'd love to have you listen. Thanks a lot.
We were talking about your weekend when we should have been listening.
Very cool. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, you should have been listening to Steve Everett.
Yeah, I actually got his album, and it's pretty good.
His album,
I like it.
It is good. It is.
Yeah, the new one that came out. Yeah, it's like you mentioned, it's country.
I don't listen to music, so I don't know. But I think it's probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as evidenced by the song he's playing there, you should check it out. It's good. All right, time for this.
Yeah. Now for some more bad news. Ready?
A little bit of trivia here that I captured. Again, there's so much of it. So Liam Neeson was so eager to be in the film that he signed on without ever having read the script.
And
then he said, "Ooh, should have read it."
Whoa, wait a second. I actually, while we were getting ready for the podcast, I actually read online that he is trying his best to get cast in the Obi-Wan Disney Plus show.
Oh, that'd be cool. He'd be he could be a Force ghost. He can be kind of guiding Obi-Wan. That's cool. I like that.
Yep.
During filming, Ewan McGregor made lightsaber noises as he dueled. George Lucas explained many times that sound effects would be added by the special effects people later on. Ewan said, "I kept getting carried away." I love that.
I love it.
Another reason to love him.
Yeah, he's great. Ewan McGregor recalled that his performance in the film consisted of walking into rooms and looking up.
Yep.
He's not wrong.
20th Century Fox released the first trailer with strict instructions that it not be shown before a certain date. When a Canadian movie theater accidentally showed it a day early, they lost the rights to show the movie.
Oh,
George Lucas doesn't play, man. It's crazy. One other one I read that I didn't capture, but it was talked about how when they aired this, when they sent it to Japan, the Japanese, like their version of the MPAA or whatever, like cut out a bunch of the Jar Jar Binks stuff because they thought it was real bad.
Racist?
Well, so they just cut a bunch of his stuff out, and then eventually George Lucas saw that version of it, and he basically said that that's an illegal edit, and if you don't show my version, then you don't get to show it. So, and lastly, an Easter egg. The Starship Enterprise from the Next Generation can be seen briefly amongst the traffic flying around Coruscant.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I kind of want to go back and watch it and find it. Because they put R2 is in at least 2 of the new Star Trek movies, the J.J. Abrams ones. R2 is in 2 of them.
I knew that you could see, there was one of the prequels that you can see the Millennium Falcon flying into like dock at some spaceport.
Yeah.
The other one that we read that I haven't been able to confirm is that the Serenity is in the end of Rise of Skywalker. So,
yeah.
Huh.
Anyway, time for this.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
So we originally would do top 3, like Liam Neeson movies or movies with kids or whatever, but we decided to do something very different. This is not normally something we do, but we're doing it this time. Top 3 things that we would do to fix the movie, so to speak. So we're taking a page from somebody else's podcast that does this kind of thing. So Andrew, you actually normally go last on this segment, so I will continue this streak. Melissa, you get to go first. As he leans into his microphone and then leans away. That was great.
Okay. I would, beyond getting gasoline and setting fire to it, I would say that it dragged. It needed to be picked up in certain areas so you didn't just fall asleep. And then it needed a little bit more action. And then it needed more Darth Maul to make that character worth its weight. I mean,
feel like there's some consequences to things. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Sam.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines. I have first of all, I'm going to say create stakes with the droid army. They in no way, shape, or form are threatening in any way, shape, or form. So if blue balls can take them down, they're not very.
I never understood why they
opposing.
had to wait for the army to step through their shields before they started throwing those things. Like,
listen, guys, blue balls can take me down. It's rough.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. If you can work through it, good for you.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna my second thing here is to designate a main character or protagonist and follow that character throughout the movie.
Yeah.
I think they tried to expand it a little bit too fast. The ensemble, because there are movies that do ensemble work well. This is not one of them. And then my number one, cut the movie by about 45 minutes. Take out some of the filler and let's streamline this thing.
Okay. I'll go next. I wrote down, don't kill your two most interesting characters.
Amen.
Less dumb stuff, like the droids and the Jar Jar, like the
Jar Jar,
like not just Jar Jar, but I mean the slapstick Three Stooges comedy bit. Let's get rid of that stuff and make the plot less confusing.
Yeah,
it's Star Wars. Like that's the big pull for Star Wars, that it's simple. That's why people like, I like Star Wars better than Star Trek because it's less confusing and there's a lot. It's just more action. Well, not this movie. So just
no.
Andrew.
So our friends at Sudden But Inevitable podcast say that we need to lament Darth Maul, and I lament Darth Maul. I wish that we had more Darth Maul.
Agree.
And Qui-Gon in this movie. And I feel like I agree with Sam. I feel like the Qui-Gon and the Obi-Wan story should have been the star of this. That should have been the main plot line, and fill out the rest of it in the mix. Make it a buddy cop type film and fill out the rest of the story within moments of filler throughout that, and cut out the Jar Jar. Let J.J. Abrams do this thing. This is number 2 for me. Sorry, I didn't say the number 3 on the last one. Number 2, let J.J. do this. I know he wasn't big on the scene, but we need more lens flare in everything that we do. And then number 1, let's just not be racist.
Yeah.
Sure.
There we go.
I'm trying to look back and see what J.J. Abrams was doing in '99. I mean, he hasn't even done Lost yet.
It was like an episode of The Office.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Actually, no, that was later.
It was 2004, right? When that came out.
He produced something called The Suburbans in '99. Let's see if he was
far better.
He was doing Felicity. He was directing episodes of Felicity in '99.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. There you go. So, I do think that, George Lucas, if he would have been able to just be executive producer, here's the vision. Now, some other director go.
But I swear though, I feel like he was coming up with this thing as he went, and that's why no one else could direct it, because no one else knew where it was going.
Well,
maybe that's
he definitely needed some more no men, or get rid of the yes men around him.
Yeah, he needed to. You're not wrong, Sam. There, I think that part is right. I think that there's no one that was willing to challenge him on his set because he is George Mother effing Lucas.
Yep.
I don't think. I think that is the issue personally. So, all right, time for this.
Wait, what's supposed to happen?
We're going to give this movie a score. IMDb has it as a 6.5. So take that for what it's worth. Andrew, you go first.
Like I said, it didn't bother me as much when I first saw it as it does now, and I feel like George Lucas got in the way, and I don't want to say ruined something that could have been spectacular, but I think he kind of ruined something that could have been spectacular. So I'm gonna give it a good 4.7 out of 10.
All right.
Yeah, at least he didn't Game of Thrones it, right?
Yeah.
Where the last season completely ruined any and utterly all momentum
Right.
for it. So yeah, he came close. I will say that.
Melissa.
I'm going to give it a 6.7 because it is not episode 2.
All right. That's fine. Sam.
All right, I'm going to award some points for Darth Maul, and the Darth Maul scene I thought was really well done. Hearing the Williams score was a breath of fresh air after 20 something years? Was it 20 years? Of not hearing and the feeling you got in the theater when the scroll started and you heard that. I wish I could just replicate that, and I'm trying to think of, do I give them any other points? No, I don't. Well, no, I'll give them Industrial Light and Magic for what they did with the sound and some of the graphics. So I'm going to give it a good 3 out of 10.
Oh wow, you really did like this movie.
That high.
I wanted to take one. I really didn't want to go above a 2, but I forgot about the sound quality. So it's a horrible movie. It's horrible, and it makes me mad. There are a few movies out there that there are movies that purposely make you mad, right? Chicago 7, some of those types of movies that just like, I can't believe it's happening. This movie's supposed to entertain me, and all it does is piss me off. So I cannot give it a good score.
No. That's fine. While you were bashing the movie, I did a quick Google search for the Enterprise in the movie, and I saw it. So, okay, there it is.
Life is complete.
Yeah, it's. It's whatever. I don't dislike it as much as you, Sam, and I certainly don't like it as much as you, Melissa. So I'm gonna give it somewhere in between. I'm just gonna give it a 5, just a 5. It's fine. It's not great. It's not terrible. I don't hate it.
It's terrible.
It's
terrible.
It's not a good movie. I don't think it's terrible, but it's not good. But I don't hate it like some people hate it. I also don't hate any of the sequel movies like some people hate the sequel movies. They're just they're just, I don't know.
I actually like the sequels better than I like the prequels.
I love the sequels.
I like all 3 of them for different reasons, but I like all 3 of them. And I also love Rogue One. And heck, we were watching Solo tonight before we finished up watching this movie, and I like that movie. I think there's a lot of fun in that movie too. So I think people need to lighten the F up is what I'm trying to say. All right. Oh my gosh. All that having been said is that we're done with the thing. The last little dumb thing we have to do on our list of things I'm supposed to do is our quote game. So I'm going to play this sounder here.
Stupid book.
There we go. I think that's appropriate. This quote, this is a game that we do. Melissa, you don't have to participate, but it's a game where I have a giant list of movie quotes, 101 classic movie quotes. I read one, and people who listen at home get to participate. Here's the quote. Here's Johnny. I don't act it.
It's Jack Nicholson.
Yes. No, yeah. So
this is in Batman as the Joker.
As the Joker.
Yep.
He said, here's Johnny. Next week.
Is it okay that I participated?
It's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Okay.
I think again, our listening audience probably hears me say, here's Johnny, and they know exactly what I'm saying.
It's the Johnny Carson show.
And then some people are probably going, that Shawn bastard doesn't like the greatest cinematic film of all time, and that's fine too.
It's great.
It's not. Next week we're doing episode 2, Attack of the Clones, which is a weird name. They're not really attacking. It's more like the defense of the clones, right? It's a weird name for a movie.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I guess we can talk about that next week, though.
Yeah, there's a great TikTok video where a kid went back and renamed all 10 or all 9 movies. Like change the order of which they should be released, like the names. I mean, not the movie order, but like the names. And it's perfect. It's brilliant. It really is brilliant. Go find it. It's great. So next week, Attack of the Clones. In the meantime, you can go back and listen to all of our old episodes. Guys, I found the magic button and have unleashed the dam. All 344 other episodes are now available on YouTube or on iTunes.
Wow.
So, last week, right before we started recording, I was messing around and found out that there's a button, and I pressed the button, and so our download numbers have completely skewed. So if you're listening to this show and you've only been listening for the last few months or whatever, and you notice that your iTunes queue now has all 300 plus episodes, that's my fault.
We're sorry.
I'm both sorry and excited that now you have an opportunity to go back and listen to Star Crash or Darkman or
episode 34
or Congo. I don't know what episode 34 is. But go back and listen to those old ones. They're a lot of fun, and we sound very different. Or
it's just because Sam's older.
No.
Shut up and get off my lawn.
Also, you can go to cheapseatreviews.libsyn.com. There you can find links to all of our social media things as well as all of our old episodes. And that's a really good place that you can go to connect with us. Also, please leave us a review on iTunes.
And check out Shawn's OnlyFans.
No.
Actually, we've started a GoFundMe to actually get him to stop that.
Oh,
yeah.
So we found ourselves making more money with that than the actual OnlyFans.
Those are
Shawn
actually
site.
accurate things.
It's kind of like a snowman eating marshmallows in a blizzard, but
the feet pics are just weird. You need to kind of stop that, man. Over the top.
Oh my God. If you're still listening, I hope that was worth it, because my God, that was fantastic.
Oh, nice. What was that, snowman?
If that doesn't go on a headliner video, I'm not doing my job right.
Oh my God.
Leave us a review on iTunes, YouTube, not Stitcher, Google Play. Podchaser is now a thing. If you want to leave us a review there, that's also very cool. But like for real, iTunes is great. I think we had another lovely person leave us a review on iTunes, which I will try to find while I'm reading other things. Cheapseatreviews@gmail.com is, of course, our email address that you can send us requests, like how Melissa said, "Hey, we should do this thing," and we said, "Okay." So that's literally all it takes, is for you just to ask us to do it, and we will do it.
We may even let you come on the show and talk to us.
That is definitely going to happen. We have some. We have some really great guests coming up. I'm very excited, especially next week. It'll be a lot of fun. We have a review as of about 5 or 6 days ago from someone named Kale Chip 11. Always have a good time listening to these guys. It's fun to see a movie and then listen to them break it down afterwards. A lot of the time, they have nice things. They notice things that I miss. Hope you enjoy their stuff as much as I do. Oh, well, thank you, Kale Chip.
That's the guy from Canada that I know.
Oh, that's weird.
There he is.
Yeah, very full circle.
Yeah.
By the way, you were very close, Opie. Episode 29 was Congo.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That's going to do it. That's our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. So on behalf of Andrew and Sam, Melissa, thank you so much for coming back on. This was a lot of fun. And next time we have you back on, we're actually going to review a good movie. And she's like, challenge accepted. This is Shawn saying thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.